Hey everyone, welcome back to day 2, a mobility session. We're going to be focusing on full body mobility today, so from our neck muscles all the way down to our calves. Your goal is to connect with your body, focus on your breath, and really try and experiment with little variations to these stretches, reaching in different ways, looking and leaning in different ways. Listen to your body and let your body guide you there. So hopefully you're loose. It's time to relax. So go ahead and put on some relaxing music, light a candle or some incense, and just get ready to connect with the body. This is a great routine to do after you're warmed up. This could be helpful after a workout or going and walking for about 20 minutes. A good brisk walk can kind of get the muscles loose and make the stretching more effective. So we're going to start standing and we're going to practice our squat stance. So this is a squat to pry. You're going to sit back into a squat and then using your arms or elbows, push your knees out to the side. I like to rock and rotate. You can do a little bit of bouncing here, but not too much. Think more about working that hip's range of motion. So leaning, rotating. You'll notice even turning your head will have an effect on that hip muscle. Another option here is to put your hands on the ground, really sink those hips back. So start playing around here. Think about what little movements can you do to increase or change that stretch sensation. If you're up for it, try to reach for the sky. Your hand doesn't have to be on the ground for that. It can be resting on your knee. Reaching all different directions can be helpful too. All right. We're going to stay standing for this next one. You're going to need something to hold on to. Make sure it's a stable object. If you open a door, you can actually use either side of the door handle to kind of hold on to, but a tree or post works well. So I'm sitting back here, trying to keep my back flat and really reaching my hips back towards the wall behind me. And then once I feel a good stretch kind of in my lats below my armpit, then I'll start twisting to increase that stretch. This is a nice one because you'll often feel this in your adductors and kind of inner thigh as well. If you do feel that, you're doing something right. And as I'm holding on with my bottom hand, I'm pushing my body away from the pole with my top hand. That's going to increase the stretch. You can add a little reach if you want. This is a good one to exhale as you twist. And you can shift the focus from your lats down to your hamstrings and low back and hips a little bit there by just trying to straighten your legs and keeping the back tall. So now we're going to go to a kneeling position and stretch out our hip flexors. So the key here that I'm showing is you really want to activate the glute and get your hips in the right position in order to maximize the stretch of your quad and hip flexor. So think about squeezing the glute of the leg that's down, and that's going to kind of tilt your pelvis forward. Once you've done that, then you can kind of deepen the stretch and lean further into it. I'm doing a couple variations here of reaching tall up to the ceiling, twisting back behind my up leg, And you can even put your hands on the ground and kind of pump that back hip. Try to alternate where you're putting your hand down and reaching. This makes the stretch a little more organic and explorative and a little less robotic. I like to think of an object that's just beyond my fingertips as I'm reaching, and that'll help me get a full stretch. All right, let's switch to the other leg. Same deal, activate your glute. Tilt that belly button up to the ceiling and get your hip underneath you. You should feel just from that movement, you'll already put a stretch on your hip flexor. By reaching overhead, I'm dipping into a psoas stretch a little bit. As you go through these variations, you can linger on the ones that feel particularly therapeutic. I'm showing a wide variety of options here, but listen to your body and do what feels good. All right, next we have snow angels. So you're going to lie on your back, pull your heels up towards you, and then really try to keep your lower back, shoulders, and head on the floor the entire time we're doing this movement. It's called snow angels because you're going to be making that snow angel movement. Notice how I'm trying to keep my hands on the floor for the full motion. If your hands don't make it to the floor, that's okay. Just think about over time, they'll slowly drop down. This is going to be opening up our shoulders and our chest. Once you reach tall, you can add a little pull with the other hand. Just lengthen. You can experiment here. Because we're extending the arms, you can inhale as you extend up, keeping that low back flat, and then exhale as you pull back down. And if you have a foam roller, you can do this on a foam roller, sitting on it long ways so your head is at one end and your hips are at the other end. Great job. Next, we're going to go into a sit and reach. And since we already warmed up those shoulders, this is just kind of taking things a little bit further. In this bent sit position, I'm just loosening up my spine here by pulling my chest towards my knees. Think about lifting your chest to the ceiling too. And then when you're ready, go for some reaches. Find all different positions here. You can reach forward diagonally, up, you can lean over. And we're going to be changing our foot position too. So now we're going into a butterfly position, feet together. And then cross your legs. This move here is one of my favorite inner thigh and thoracic stretches. Whether your forearms on the ground or just resting on your knees, try to reach up to the ceiling. Exhale as you do. Next, we're going to spend some time on the hips. We did this in a quicker fashion with our warm-ups. So today we're going to be slowing things down with this hip internal rotation. So I'm trying to drive my right knee down to the ground, and I'll feel this stretch deeper in my hip. Notice how my legs are a little bit greater than 90 degrees. And here my hips are trying to stay low to the ground. All right, we're going to go into our side sit here. So this is going to be working a little bit more on our external rotation. You'll feel this in your inner thighs or adductors, and then you'll probably feel it in your glute a little bit as well. I'm starting out here by touching my forehead down to my knee. And then you know the drill. Add in some reaches. You can twist backwards. Lean up overhead. Exhaling as you do. Find which stretches and which reaching variations give you the best stretch in your glute or that inner thigh. All right, switch it up, other side. If you're lucky, you can get a little back popping from twisting backwards in this position. Reaching with two arms will give you a little bit of strength or stability from those muscles as well. You got to hold yourself up as you reach. You can rotate your torso, or you can focus on that back leg a little bit too. This is another great internal rotation stretch. All right, we're moving on. We're going to take a little break from the hips and go up to the neck. I'm doing this in a kneeling position, but feel free to do it in a seated position or whatever's going to allow you to keep your back straight. So I'm purposefully trying to keep my shoulders down and back. So I'm putting my spine in good postural position. And then I'm reaching my ear down towards my shoulder. I'm not bringing my shoulder up towards my ear. And I'm not adding too much tension with my hand, just a little bit of pressure. Almost the weight of the hand alone is enough. Now we're going to look to one side. See here, I'm keeping my shoulders back. And if it's comfortable for you, put your hands on the ground. That's going to help you keep your shoulders low. Exhale as you look to one side. Now, keeping your jaw closed, we're going to reach our chin up to the ceiling. Breathe and make little adjustments I'm pointing kind of one side of my chin up to the ceiling and then the other. All right. Next, we're going into a Cobra or a back extension. So I want you to be kind of active in this position. Think about pulling your back up into that Cobra position and then supporting yourself with your forearms. Notice I'm starting out just on my elbows here. If you have the ability, go onto your hands. And think about keeping your glutes completely relaxed during this. I'm doing a specific breathing pattern. I took this from the Wim Hof method, where I'm inhaling fully, trying to fill my belly with air, holding for about 2 to 3 seconds. And then as I exhale, I intensify the stretch. You'll see later in the video, this gives me a lot more range of motion. So going through a couple breath cycles like that, full inhale to the diaphragm, hold for a couple seconds, and then as you exhale, let the body relax. Trying to look behind you or lifting that knee up can be beneficial as well. All different variations. Next, we have our windmill. So this is going to focus on thoracic rotation. So you're going to get onto one side. I want you to pull your hips up to 90 degrees and your knees up to 90 degrees. And then we're going to open our arms like a book. Eyes follow the fingertips. And you're going to lay your shoulders down without your knees coming apart. So I like to take that trailing arm and kind of pin my knees down to the ground. That intensifies the stretch for me. Exhale as you're reaching. You'll see I'll do this for several reps, so you don't have to hold for too long in that position. If it's easier, you could do even 5 or 10 reps of just holding for 1 or 2 seconds. And this is a harder variation, so instead of stacking my knees together, I'm straightening that bottom leg out and then pinning my top knee to the floor. That just increases the range of motion. Here I'm doing a sweeping motion up and over into that rotation. That can just get a little extra shoulder mobility. All right, let's hit the other side. So again, hips at 90 degrees, knees at 90 degrees. Eyes follow the fingertips. Open up, exhale, and lay those shoulders flat. Try to keep your knees pinned to the floor and to each other. Breathe, exhale. You'll probably notice on these that one side is a lot tighter than the other. If that's the case, spend a little more time in that stretched position on the tighter side. Give it a little bit longer here. If you're up for it, go for the sweep. Nice. All right. So next we're going to be doing two different variations. So the first is a bridge and reach. If you have an issue with your shoulder joint or pain in your shoulder here, you might want to avoid this one. I'll show you a variation in a second. So what I'm doing here is driving through the floor and extending my hips up like a glute bridge. You should feel this might put a little stretch in your hip flexors. And then I'm doing some thoracic rotation by pulling that bottom shoulder underneath me and reaching with the top arm. You kind of want to be active with that stabilizing bottom shoulder in order to make this feel comfortable. Pull yourself into that reach. Almost think like you're elbowing the floor. If you have trouble or that doesn't feel comfortable on your shoulders, we're going to work this pattern here. So in a kneeling position, we can work our thoracic rotation, reaching back. And to get a little bit of hip extension here, you can come up into a tall kneel. Reach tall, squeeze the glutes, and either lean back or rotate. All right, next we're going to focus on our hamstrings. So this is called a half long position. So tuck one heel in close towards you, the other leg's out straight, and reach forward. I am utilizing that Wim Hof breathing pattern here. Inhale, hold for several seconds, feel the tension, and then breathe through the tension and relax. With every exhale, you can see I'm getting my head closer and closer to my knee. I'm just not forcing anything. I'm just letting the body relax. Letting my breath control the stretch. Let's hit the other side. If you can't reach your foot with your hands here, this is a great idea to just grab a strap or a resistance band. A belt would work, or even a towel. Remember to keep these stretches gentle. I don't want you to be gritting your teeth or moaning in pain or anything. Try to just relax. All right, now both feet together. These different positions that we're using are just going to hit different aspects of our hip and hamstrings. You might find one variation's a lot easier than another. Now into a V-sit. So sitting tall, you're going to spread your legs apart and then reach to one side. This is a great way to stretch your lower back and quadratus lumborum. You can rest your forearm next to or on top of your leg and then reach over. You can see my shoulders are in line with my leg. I'm trying to really keep that top shoulder stacked. There's not a lot of twisting going on in my torso. It's just a lean. Other side. Whether you're using your hand or a belt or strap, just let the muscle relax. Inch yourself closer and closer. Nice work. All right, our last stretch here is going to be focusing on the calves. You could use a wall for this or anything to lean into. And just step into a deep stance far enough for your calf muscle in the back leg to feel a stretch. And then keeping that back leg straight, just bend that forward knee, lean into the wall or whatever you're holding on to. You can practice a couple with a straight leg. You're going to stretch your gastrocnemius, or that upper muscle of your calf. And then as I'm doing here, if you bend your knee into that stretch too, bend your back knee, and you'll stretch lower in the calf, more of your soleus muscle. It's good to experiment with these and see which aspects of your ankle or calf needs the stretch. Exhale, release the tension as you stretch. All right. Great job, everyone. That was a pretty much full body. We hit most joints and most movements of the body. And we're going to finish up with just doing some cool down diaphragmatic breathing. I managed to get into the worst angle for both cameras here, so forgive me. But what I'm doing is I'm putting one hand on my belly and one hand on my chest. And as I inhale over 4 seconds, I'm really focusing on letting my belly rise first. You shouldn't feel too much of a rise in your chest, or if you do, it should be maybe the last 1/3 of your breath. And then as you exhale, you're going to reverse that. So feel the chest fall, feel the belly fall. Think 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. This is a great way to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, kind of let your body relax and unwind a little bit. Thank you, everyone. I hope your body feels great after this session, and we'll get you next time.